Syracuse football, their season comes to a close today. They finished the year out 5-7, and they're not going bowling. Hi, everyone. I'm James Kattato. Alongside me, Thomas Cook for Newhouse Sports. And Thomas, this one, a tough pill to swallow for the Orange. They fall to Pittsburgh 31-14. Obviously, Pittsburgh, an offensive juggernaut led by a Heisman candidate and probably NFL player, soon to be Kenny Pickett, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He threw for 4 touchdowns, but this one still has to sting if you're Syracuse.
Yeah, you come off the bye week, you have 3 games to win 1. You lose all 3, and none of them really close. Start off with the Louisville kind of debacle in the second half, then 2 ranked teams to end the season. Was going to be a tough test once we saw the Louisville result, but still doesn't make it any easier, especially when you have 3 games just to win the 1, get to the 6th win, get to a bowl game for the first time since 2018. It all kind of crumbles down the stretch.
A lot of adversity for Syracuse this year between the transfer portal and injuries. We know this, right? Taj Harris leaving, multiple other players leaving, key players that got injured for Syracuse that Coach Baber said even after this post game, he had to really mix in some special teams, some different options, put people on red shirts, things that he didn't expect to happen this year. But something that was big, a starting quarterback change between Tommy DeVito to then Garrett Schrader. And then Schrader talked about this post game. He said what the first season was like in Orange. Take a look.
It's definitely a roller coaster of emotions, but coming in the spring, just putting my head down, working, meeting the guys, and I knew last year wasn't a reflection of what this team was and what it could be. So just came in and just did what I was supposed to, did what was asked of me, and it all worked out pretty good, I'd say. But now that I feel like I have more of the reins on offense, but I'm ready to get going, ready to build, and it was tough. A lot of times throughout the year, just because we see what we can do and we're just not there yet, and that was the most frustrating thing to me. Especially we're just trying to figure out how to win games and put it together, but the potential's there, and we'll come back next year and with high heat.
So obviously, Thomas, you just heard it there from Garrett. Stuff to work on for him. A couple of bright spots for him, though. Between him and Sean Tucker, 2,000 combined rushing yards over that. So a good season overall for Schrader, especially first year in a system.
And he mentioned that going through the air is going to be the big key for them to continue to take the next step. Obviously, we assume Sean Tucker will be back, and that running attack is going to be lethal in this ACC. But it's really going to be the ability. We saw it tonight at times when this offense was able to hit those over-the-middle passes. They were really dynamic and able to move the ball on those 2 scoring drives. But then when they faltered, it looked pretty ugly. A lot of sacks, some penalties mixed in, and it really stalled. After the Deuce Chestnut pick in the end zone, had an opportunity to really make this one a ball game, unable to do so. And that's why they end up at 5-7 on this year.
Thomas, you mentioned Deuce Chestnut. One of the bigger key pieces on that defense is Michael Jones. And we know that defense was at one point of the season top 10 in the country. Then obviously injuries and then tougher competition kind of lowered that ranking a little bit. But Michael Jones has been a crucial piece, especially on that front 7 for the Syracuse defense. And now he tells us post-game he's considering declaring for the NFL draft. He's 50-50 on it at the moment, but that decision's going to come next week. What does a loss like that do in terms of leaving a blow on a defense?
What would leave a massive hole on the middle of the defense? You heard Dino Baber say if all these guys come back, this team could be special. If all those guys don't come back, they could be searching once again, have younger guys have to step up and play bigger roles. And I'm sure Dino was referring to Michael being one of those big pieces he wants back. Now, it will be interesting to see what Michael does. Only a sophomore, third-year sophomore because of COVID last year, but could potentially leave. Obviously, plenty of NFL scouts here tonight and throughout the season, scouting him and plenty of other players. Obviously, Kenny Pickett here tonight probably took most of the scouts' attention. But it'll just be interesting to see because this defense really has a lot of pieces. But if they start losing some of those pieces, you can see it kind of regress to what it did this year down the stretch when you lost some of those pieces, especially to injury.
So, Thomas, the last thing, right? Behind us right now, they are building the basketball court, right? There was another season to worry about. They're tearing down the football field here in the Carrier Dome. They didn't waste any time. The post-game presser just ended. They're not wasting any time. He's driving right behind us. What was your biggest takeaway from this football season on a positive note? Because last year, I know that Coach Baber said there was an asterisk on that. You can't really count that 1-win season, but you kind of have to. Looking back on this season compared to the previous season, what do you take away?
Well, yeah, going back to what you said, you have to count last season. It counts, right? Everybody played. Everybody was under the same circumstances, so it does count. So you can't really take Dino's word on that one. But I think if you would have told Syracuse fans and you told Dino Babers this team would have 5 wins, they'd probably be pretty satisfied and be happy with it. And you kind of saw that from Dino Babers after the game. He didn't come out in his post-game conference all gloom and gloom. he was pretty upbeat. He was pretty happy. He said this team has a lot to build on from this season. So I think the future could be bright, but it's going to go back to who's all back and what the transfer portal in and out really looks like. And he mentioned that a lot. Not really happy with the transfer portal rules, but it's the name of college football in 2021, and I think he's going to have to adjust and really utilize it to bring players into Syracuse to give them a second shot to really kind of bring new life to this program.
5-7, they finished the season. They're not going bowling, but like you said, Thomas, and like Coach Baber said, and like the players said, things to build on, things to work on heading into 2022. Reporting in the Carrier Dome, I'm James Kattato. Alongside me, Thomas Cook for Newhouse Sports.